I will call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Jerry Stone if he will to lead us to prayer tonight.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we're thankful for your many blessings. We pray now that you will watch over us as we attend this meeting. Help us to make good decisions, Lord. Good decisions for the students and faculty and everyone involved. We're thankful for this community college and what it means to this area here, all around us. Be with us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Dr. Jerry has an introduction he wants to
I
make.
wanted to introduce someone that's in the back of the room. It's Coach Poteet. Coach Poteet is our football coach, Cardinal football coach. Yeah, I think you brought a couple of players with you today.
Yes, sir.
Great. I want you to introduce them. Let me tell you, Coach Poteet and the Cardinal football team has had a great year this year.
Yeah.
They've won 8 and lost 2. They won the conference. They were 7-0, undefeated in the conference. It's been a long time since we've been undefeated in the conference. They're number 10 in the nation and had a great year, great students, great athletes. And they've been invited to the Cardinal, to the 2022 Game 1 Bowl, which used to be the Graphic Edge Bowl. And they'll be playing this next Sunday, December the 4th in Cedar Falls, Iowa, under the UNI Dome. They'll be playing number 14 ranked Iowa Central Tribes. I just want to congratulate Coach Poteet, congratulate his staff, congratulate his players, and you want to introduce a couple of them?
I will, and thank you. Obviously, it's I get I guess rewarded, if you would, or the too much credit for the play that these young men do out there each and every day at practice and on Saturdays. But it's so much that it goes on beyond just when the lights are on. There's so much that when it's 6 a.m. sprawl from the turf in February and March and those things, and then it was 105 when we're running out here on the practice field in July. There's so much that goes on that beyond those 3 hours on those lights and Saturdays that these guys do. And obviously, I got a great staff that continue to mentor and lead and coach and put them in the right positions. But we can put them in positions all day long, but they have to go out and make the plays. But over here on the father side with Daniel, this is Daniel Cheeseburger Williams. Daniel plays defensive line for us and is a first team all conference defensive lineman this year. And he plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage a lot. And that's one of the keys to our success. So thank you for being here. And this is number 1, Trent Hudson, plays receiver, was the most valuable player of our club. So along with that, Trent was first team all conference receiver, and then was also voted as the most valuable player in our league by the other coaches as well. And so, like I said, when you got guys like this playing for you and doing the things they do on and off the field, both these young men have Division I 4-year visits set up once we get back from Iowa. And they will be moving on and wearing a different logo on their helmet in January. But they've done a great job, and then just another opportunity of being at Trinity Valley. The College of Champions is what volleyball's done, what basketball's doing right now, what softball's we do in the spring, and what we're doing right now. And it's just nonstop with cheer, the Cardettes. I mean, everything that Trinity Valley's doing is champion level stuff. And Dr. King leadership, our vice presidents, our board of trustees, which allow us to go play in Iowa and put Trinity Valley on display one more time this season. So thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Coach. We got to mention that he was also named Coach of the Year in the Region 14 or Southwest Junior College Football Conference Coach of the Year. So thank you for that as well. Good luck Sunday. This is the first bowl game that I will not be able to go to, but good luck. We'll be watching. Good luck. Thank you. He told me that he was going to go. He told me he had to go recruiting. So he's leaving to go recruiting. Also wanted to mention something about Coach Aaliyah Hayes. Coach Hayes, this was a tremendous year that we had. It was a year that I had never seen before in volleyball at Trinity Valley Community College. But Coach Aaliyah Hayes couldn't be here tonight. She had a meeting at Bland College, but it was a history-making season for the Lady Cardinals. They ended up winning the conference undefeated. They ended up winning the regional tournament undefeated, and then ended up going eighth and winning 8th place finish in the NJCAA national tournament. And I can't say enough about how proud I am of them, how much proud I am of the football team as well. And just wanted to recognize her and the great job that she's done. This was only the second time in the history of our college that we've been to the national tournament in volleyball. And she's done a great job, and I wish she could have been here, but she couldn't, and appreciate what she's done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those introductions. We'll move to item number 3. Consider and approve amendment number 1 to our interlocking agreement to participate in tax incentive investment zone number 2 for the city of Kaufman.
We have David Pettit here with us tonight. He's going to give us a presentation. You guys probably remember we went through this about 2 years ago. I believe we were in Carroll. I think it was a November board meeting 2 years ago that we approved the tax increment reinvestment zone number 1 for the city of Kaufman. And so now they're wanting to expand and do more. And hopefully you've had an opportunity to read through some of the material that we provided for you. But I'm going to let David go ahead and have the floor and let him answer any questions or talk about anything that is related to this.
Thank you, Dr. King, Board of Trustees. Thank you for having me tonight. I came out here to Tyler for Thanksgiving. I live in Fort Worth, and it was raining, as you know, on Thanksgiving. And so the trip here took about 2.5 hours when it typically takes about 2. The ride home took me about 3.5 hours. There were so many wrecks, and I was white knuckled by the time I got home. I was just so happy. And then, you know, I left and said it would take me about 1.5 hours. It took me 2 hours, 20 minutes. So traffic continues to increase, but we appreciate the opportunity. I did look at the previous presentation we gave you guys, and it was September 26th of 2000. So it was exactly 2 years ago. 2 years ago and 2 months. So I have a brief presentation just on what we're trying to do. And what we're asking for the college is just to amend the existing interlocal agreement you have with the city of Kaufman. We go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to give you just an overview of the TERS concept, the TERS amendment process, what the TERS number 2, what we agreed to 2 years ago, and then the expansion, and then kind of the next steps. So a TERS is really, you continue to always get the taxes that you currently get. And through a tax increment financing district or TERS, we use those interchangeably. Any increase through investment in infrastructure, those type of things, encourage economic development. What we've structured is that 50% goes to infrastructure and 50% goes back to the college. So basically, we're creating new dollars that come to the district. So I always like to say 50% of something is something where you can get 100% of nothing. So that's kind of the concept that we're kind of falling into here. And part of the reason that we're asking for an amendment, because we are trying to put economic development to work through this TIF. So if we move to the next slide, I won't bother you with the legal mechanisms, but just to highlight, we amended the TERS, the creation ordinance, and there's 2 ordinances, a creation ordinance and a project and financing plan that says, hey, this is how we're going to spend this money. So the amendment, the creation ordinance has 5 key elements: the boundary, term, the TIF board, which I'll have representation on the TIF board as a participant in a preliminary project and financing plan. And then once we get all the interlocals straight, the TIF board recommends the final plan that goes to city council for ordinance approval. So if we can go to the next slide. So the original TIF, it was created in 2019. We actually made it to you guys in September 26th, 2020. It's wholly located within the city of Kaufman. It was approximately 111 acres of undeveloped land. The base value was 0. And the purpose of the TERS was to encourage private development that will yield additional tax revenue to all taxing jurisdictions. So if we move to the next slide. what we did on back in September, I believe it was 2022, we expanded the boundary. And when we expand the boundary, we call it 2, and then we call it 2A. And that incorporated an additional 614 acres that we hope to encourage private investment through the use of these funds. So as we capture them, investing those back into infrastructure, it creates more increment that provides the taxing jurisdictions more revenue. So if we move to the next slide, this is very tiny and I apologize, but really we didn't change a whole lot to the original projections for the original 2A, but we have close to $200 million worth of anticipated development if we're able to get this TERS in place and that we can leverage that all the taxing jurisdictions can benefit from. So the total investment in the overall TERS is 333 million. We have about 219. So we originally had about $100 million. This is going to generate an additional $219 million if we put it to good use and we put it into infrastructure. So if we move to the next slide, there are the participation assumptions. There's no changes. It's still a 31-year TIF. City of Kaufman is participating 75% of its M&O rate. And we are also going before the county next Tuesday for a 50%. Also, basically, we're casting a wider net so we can capture more increment and facilitate more development. And here tonight, we're asking Trinity Valley Community College for 50% of its M&O rate. I understand y'all don't have an INS rate, but 50% of your rate. So I always like to, like I said before, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. And so what we're trying to do is encourage development where it's not currently going. And these TIFs have had a remarkable success around the state of Texas. And if we can kind of go to the next slide, I'll tell you kind of where we've been, I'll kind of outline. So the proposed project and financing plan outlines $63 million that would go into everything you would think of public infrastructure: water, sanitary sewer, storm drain, street and intersection maintenance, open space, parks, utilities, street lighting. The city is participating in a grants category. If there's a business that they can entertain, unfortunately, the other taxing jurisdictions like the county and the community college cannot participate in that. So that's solely the city participating in that. And then, of course, there's administrative costs. If you look at the total taxes generated over the 31 years, it's $316 million. So imagine that $316 million not being there. What we're asking for is the city's putting in 75% or $41.2 million. The county will be putting in $16 million and having a net benefit of 23. And what we're asking is the Trinity Valley Community College, the college, to contribute 50% of the $13 million it generates for a total of $63 million. The next slide, if we can, gives you just a little bit of a next steps. On September 26th, which was actually the date that y'all approved the original agreement 2 years ago in 2020, the TERS board and the city council approved an amended creation ordinance. We're here tonight to ask for an amendment to your interlocal that would cast that wider net, but once again, keeping the same terms. We'll be going before Kaufman County for them to also consider an amended interlocal agreement. And then once we get those in place, we'll be coming back in December and finalizing that final project and financing plan so we can get that into an ordinance. So a lot of great things going on in Kaufman. This is a great tool. Happy to answer any questions. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Anyone have any questions regarding the matter? David?
Mr. Pettit, if you would, could you back up to one of the earlier slides, recapping the tax revenues?
Yeah, and what slide would you like? What was it, number 9?
I think it's that one.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. And total taxes generated 50%, the college 13.2, by half, 6.6, but Kaufman County 40 million in value and 16 million in revenue projections,
Yes,
and yet they're indicated as being in at 50%.
50% of their M and O. So they have an M and O and an INS rate. So the difference between those two is their interest and sinking fund that goes to pay for their debt.
I understand. Okay, so in reality, they're contributing about, what is that, about 30%.
Yeah, if I get my numerator and denominator correct, we're basically 16 million divided by the
And
30.
same thing, the city of Kaufman, reflecting 88 million.
So the city of Kaufman, that includes, the city of Kaufman is just like all the cities, they collect other tax revenues. So we've included the hotel occupancy tax that they will be receiving, that will be reinvested into the community. It has to be in order to collect it. And then also their sales tax. So they get 2% from their sales tax. And so that is also reflected in that number. But they are giving 75% of their M&A. Thank you.
And this is a 30-year program, 31?
So it's 30 years, and it terminates, and we always say that it terminates that 30th year, December 31st, 20 years from when it was created, so that was 2038. What we found is a legal problem, is because you don't collect revenue. Invoices go out for ad valorem taxes on October 1. They're not due until January 31st. So the lawyers go, well, you only have a 29-year term. So in order to allow for that, we add another year so we can collect those taxes in that following year. So just like your 2022 tax bills went out, they're not due until January 31st. So we added.
So if, for example, if we've contributed $6 million and it's 10 years into the deal, but
You're capped.
well, yeah, we're capped, but we all of a sudden we have a lot of good portion and it's doing exactly what it should be doing. So does that mean this goes away, or are we going to reap the benefits of what we now put up the money for every year? Or is there another phase of this that can go on and we can still be getting the 50% that we're going into this with?
No, so the way the interlocal is written, it's 31 years or you reach your cap of 6.6, whichever comes first. So if by year 10 you hit that, then you receive 100% of the revenue. So there's not that 50-50
So
split.
it's not going to be ongoing for 30 years automatic.
Correct. And so based on our assumptions, and once again, they are just assumptions. My crystal ball is it gets a little fuzzy after 10 years. But we have found that these TIFs need to be about this long in order to capture the full value, the full, cycles of real estate. Particularly when we went through 2008, we saw a dearth, and then we kind of come back up, and we're about to enter into a recession right now. So that's where these tools really come in, because that's where developers in the private sector are really looking for, hey, I need help with my public infrastructure. I can't put all this in and then charge my end user. So that's where a TIF really comes in handy, providing streets, roads, sewer, basic utilities.
When you said that there was zero taxes, part of this is state-owned land, is that correct? Or
Correct.
Price district land that they used to have their office over there.
A small portion of it. And so, but majority of it, it's all ag. So it has an ag exemption on it. So that is being, developed. We have a developer engaged. The remainder of the other property is just an ag exemption as well. So the thought process is to actually say, hey, we have a TERS that can help pay for road, water, sewer. It can actually assimilate that. So we take it off the ag exempt and make it taxable. So therefore you have the revenue. So that's where I say the 50-50 split.
Do you have a developer already selected for all of phase one, or is it multiple developers doing it?
Multiple developers. So
Who are
with
they?
TERS 2, I wish I had there's a gentleman that's building a municipal compound, kind of an arena with hotel and multifamily and townhomes. That was part of the original 2 years ago. The new is we have, if you look at the development projections, there's multiple, this is basically based on boots on the ground. The city's economic development department, we anticipate some single family residential coming on in 2026, 2028, and 2030. Townhome development and some multifamily development and some commercial development. And so it's multiple developers that have approached us. I know that Schuler Development in Jim Mira, I'm sure you're familiar with them. They are a large player in this as well. And so our hope is they have indicated the likelihood of investing to making these projects come forward. Because you know, a lot of that is contingent upon having the right debt and equity and making the projects work. But we believe we're never going to put in roads, water, sewer with hopes. We're going to go in on a parallel track with the developer to make sure that their projects happen. So it really helps them.
Thank you.
We have also, I mentioned, we've had Lee Porter, our attorney. I talked to David and reviewed this document in agreement, and she's good with it. She's reviewed it, and I think she made a few changes, but not.
She made a few changes and we accepted them.
Right. So she's approved it.
I do have one question. You touched on it briefly, the sports complex and the common areas. Has that been commenced yet, or is it?
I know that they're deep in the plans and it's shovel ready, if you will. And so I forget his name. I wish Mike Sly, the city manager, was here because he could talk in a lot of detail about it.
Mike's Sly.
Mike's Sly.
Yeah.
But yes, it's imminent. They are going. They've got a hotel operator that's ready to go. So a lot of this, you've heard this over the several years, is shovel ready and ready to go. And so we anticipate that that's going to be going full bore. And so that's why we wanted to take the momentum. And really what we're asking for here is to cast a little bit wider than that to encourage more development than just that.
All right. If there's no other comments or questions, I hear motion to approve this amendment.
You have a question?
Just have this thought, and I can offer it as an amendment. Motion comes to hand, but since you recognize me, I'll go ahead and state it. If action is favorable, I would strongly recommend a couple of this. Kaufman County's approved, something is not yet in hand. Is that correct?
No, we'll be doing that a week from tomorrow.
So I think, are you requesting it be contingent upon Kaufman County approval?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Are you offering that motion?
I'll offer.
Okay.
Motion to amend it.
A motion to approve the agreement contingent upon Kaufman County approval, which will be a couple of weeks.
Okay, you've heard that amendment. I mean, that motion stated. Do I hear any further questions?
We need a second.
If not, do I have a second? Terry seconds the motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, David.
Thank you
Okay, you're welcome.
very much. Hope you all have a wonderful. rest
Okay,
of your
thank
week.
you.
Thank
I hope this project actually happens the way you
Oh,
got
it
it
will.
written out.
Oh, it will.
When do you think it'll start?
I don't think, I may not be around.
Most good things require us to wait, right?
30 years passed pretty fast. Item number 4, President's report.
I only had a couple of things I wanted to mention. We have a Board of Trustees luncheon. We certainly want to invite everybody here for, that's on a Thursday, December the 8th at 11:30, and it'll be really, really good if you can come, I promise. It'll be probably just as good as we just had a few minutes ago. It's always good. We also have TVCC fall graduation ceremony, and that will be on the next day, which will be Thursday. Yeah, the December the 8th is on Wednesday, I believe. December the 9th is on Friday. That's right. Friday at 10 a.m. There's not a 2 p.m. ceremony. It's only a 10 a.m. ceremony, and it will be at Athens High School. And
Is it about how many students?
I don't know yet. I don't know. I'll send that to you in my update.
Okay, okay.
But I'm not real sure, but also want to mention, we do have an LVN pinning ceremony, which is always really great to go to and great to see. That will be on the Terrell campus, the Health Science Center, and that will be this next Wednesday at 10 a.m. So if I'm going to be there, I think Mike Embry's going to be there. So if you're interested in going to that, we can pick you up and give you a ride down there and ride back, or whatever the case may be. But that's always a great ceremony to go to. It's really really great to see the results and the benefits of that program to those students.
What time?
10 a.m.
10
on
a.m.
Wednesday, this day after tomorrow.
Okay,
This one.
okay.
That's it.
That's it. All right, next board meeting will be in January, won't it?
It will be in January, the fourth Monday in January.
Yeah, okay. All right, item number 5, consider minutes of the October 13th and 14th, and October 24th, 2022 board meetings. These have been presented to you. Do I hear a motion to be approved? David, you'll make that motion?
So,
David makes a motion to approve. Steve seconds those motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
If you don't mind, I forgot something that I should have said something about. Janine has an update on the presidential search. Janine,
If you need.
I'm sorry. I had it written down. I just left it.
So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the presidential search. Things are going very well. We have concluded accepting applications at this point. We have a total of 136 applicants that have submitted their documentation. The advisory committee has gone through all of those applications already and has made their recommendations for semifinalists. And so we will be talking with the presidential search committee, or the board search committee, excuse me, to solidify that list. And then we will be reaching out to start to schedule interviews for next week, as long as we can keep on schedule. So far we've been able to keep on track and things are going very well.
Thank you, Janine. Janine keeps us on track.
I try.
We would like to have, if we could, just a short meeting after this meeting with the board committee, just to talk about where we are with that. And, but thank you, Janine. Anybody have any questions for Janine?
yeah, just for clarity, I think you stated earlier that this position was open, so it's been.
Correct.
So in the event, probably unlikely, if they ever increase, someone popped up, what are you gonna tell?
So right now, I am letting them know that we are keeping their application or their documents with us. And that, but right now we're considering the ones that turned it in prior to the deadline. And if we need to add them in. But I do respond to every single application.
Thank you, Janine. Okay, sorry about that. You continue on.
Item number 6, consider the business, financial, investment reports for September 2022. David?
Yes, sir. Holmes gonna bring that up. The September, and I printed out September of 19, and I promptly left it on my desk. Looking at the revenue, tuition is $248,000 higher than last year. As I recall, September of 19, pre-COVID, it was about 6.1. You can see in October, we're up to 6.8. So it's a positive direction. I don't think we're quite back to where we were. Talking about housing and food service, I was surprised that these numbers were higher than pre-COVID, but then I realized that we had both board and housing cost increases. So, but that burst my bubble a little bit, but it's good that it's a bookstore again as well. Well, all those are double-digit increases. State appropriations is expected second year. You know, we're not going to see a difference there because we're in the second year of that allocation. Ad valorem tax, as y'all recall, September, everything that comes in September goes against prior year taxes because
for us, all we have are past due. They haven't made the allocation for the new year. I had to get used to that when I came here because we had a September 30th year end and I never had anything like this. So next month, we'll start seeing the new stuff roll in. Other sources, the only thing that's budgeted in there is the remainder of the HERF money. You won't see much activity there because I will draw that money down for the loss in contact hours sometime May or June before the grant is up. So just to let you know. Payroll, I didn't really have anything there. The net's about 4.5% total personnel, which is what we would expect. Under M&O, bookstore costs, purchases for resale, again, you would expect those to be up. Revenue is up. A couple of line items I did want to point out that the institutional scholarships are up $136,000. A lot of that has to do with the increase in housing and board. You know, if we scholarship those students, obviously that's going to increase those scholarship costs. The other thing I want to point out, and I think we talked about this, insurance is up mainly because of the increase in our liability and structural insurance. I have talked with Brenda. We haven't had much luck. I think we've had one firm decline. We've had one other some interest, but I told her I would like her to come back for sure in January and brief the board so we can know where we're at as far as if we have any interest at all. Again, I think we're going to see probably the same thing from other insurance companies. We won't know until we get all that in. The board budget committee will remember we increased the capital reserve funding this year to $2,097,000. I believe that was just a little over 3%. Trustee Muck, we kind of talked about this in board budget committee. We're going to stick with that percentage of revenue instead of just having the same number and not knowing where it came from. You know, we've got a percentage that we'll be using and makes my job easier for budgeting too. So next page. Oh, I did want to point out excess revenue, you're 3.3 million. As of September this year, we were at 3.246 as of last year, so fairly comparable there as far as revenue over expense. The next page, cash, we're still doing very well. Cap reserve has come down. Of course, we've had a lot of projects ongoing. We'll get to that detail here in a minute. Next page, the investment report. I told my two CD advisors over here, we did pull down the CDs. I believe it was November after the October meeting when y'all told me you were not penalty adverse. So I'm good with that. It did work out pretty well, and I didn't put it in crypto, Doc. That was we were anywhere from probably 2.5 to almost 4. So pretty pleased with that, and I'll have that for you when that rolls out. Good idea. Thank you, Bob.
Job well done.
Yeah, job well done. The next page on cap reserve. You can see that we had Becker Mechanical and some EMA engineering, both on the Northwest Dorm. Jennifer has reconciled it for you back to the 21.1 million. We will be putting more in as of January, so hopefully we'll be getting that going back up. I do want to talk just a minute about the payments over 25,000. Talking about cap reserve, you'll see that there's a Decker Mechanical for 200,000. You'll see that was on cap reserve. The Integrity contractors, you see that check for 119,000. This is where accrual accounting comes in. The bulk of that, with the exception of $8,000, was part of the drainage and it was in the operating budget. So you won't see that on the cap reserve. Only $8,000 of that check was cap reserve, and it was an August invoice. So it came out of cap reserve in August. You know, the auditors like us to get that split right when it comes to invoice dates. at the end of the year. So in case anybody saw that 119,000, want to know why it wasn't on cap reserve, and that's why. It was taken care of in August and only $8,000 of it. Do y'all have any other questions about any of the rest of it? I'm sure my colleagues would love to answer those.
I have one general question. It had nothing to do with one of these payments.
Sure.
Is the $25,000 number a number that the board legislated, or is it a statute that you have to show them?
No,
My question is that still the right number? I mean,
that's really
how
all.
we set that number, times are different, and I'm not complaining, I'm just asking.
I know nothing legislative.
It was a board decision, David, you may remember, about 10 or 11 years ago, it was a board decision.
I know it's something
Yeah.
that we favor, certainly that I favored as being a reasonable amount to take a look at. And especially where usually it's just more to be familiar rather than to specifically, act on line items. There's no problem, it just happened. But at a point, it is at 50 that you have a whole different set of rules in terms of.
Correct. We have board policy that says that if it's not a budgeted item or a component purchase, for example, if we're making a $50,000 purchase, we would bring it to the board. But we don't bring you all the utility bills, just because they're all. But yeah, that's a level that's in the law for bidding, but it's also part of a local policy that you guys review that. Stephanie and I intend to rewrite the purchasing policy at some point. I think I get off track here, but our PO level, I believe, is too low. But if the board had other ideas about stuff like this, I would like to know, just to kind of, as we develop that. The cost of everything has gone up. I don't think the list is too lengthy. Most of it's going to be payroll anyway. So as long as you guys are good with it, it's whatever y'all want.
I just thinking about it.
No, like I say, I think that's just a local decision.
All right, any other questions, comments? If not, I hear a motion to approve the business financial investment report, September 2022. Jerry makes that motion, Dr. Terry seconds the motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 7, consider and discuss approval of electrician and plumbing programs on the Terrell campus.
Lord, I know that you've heard me talking for the last year or longer about putting in workforce programs in Kaufman County. And one of the things that has been brought up to me is, do we have any alternatives other than building buildings? And this was an alternative that we came up with. And there's been a whole group of people working on this. Dr. Spizzera, Dr. Johnson, Kelly Townsend, David Graham, Tony Buford, and others as well. And what we've come up with, by the way, Kelly Townsend got a $300,000 grant a year ago for us to put in 2 programs in Kaufman County. And this is the 2 programs that were chosen to do. That's electrical program and a plumbing program. So what we did is we went back, we evaluated the facilities that we have on the Terrell campus. We've looked at different options. We looked at the possibility of building an additional building there. We looked at other options, and this came out to be what we believe is by far the best option to put in these 2 new programs. If you look at the last 2 pages of your handout, there you go, Norma. This is what we're planning on doing in the Reisinger Building Learning Resource Center. The back part of it, we have 2 classrooms back there that we'd like to use. One of them for electrical lab and one of them for construction labs. And then the electrical and plumbing. And then we'd also have electric that would go along with that. We've been through those buildings, we've looked at them, and we believe that we can replace those 3 classrooms in a different location. If you'll scroll down, Norma, to the next one. We can replace those classrooms over in a different part of the facility, and really not have a loss of classrooms. Still continue having the same classrooms that we've had before, we feel like, again, this will be a great opportunity for us to put in these two workforce programs, and it's not going to interfere with the rest of the classes that are going on in the facility. We feel very good about it. You've got some of the information here that we provided in terms of financial pro forma and the amount of contact hours that would be generated, the amount of revenue generated versus the expenses for the program. I've talked to Ray Dunlap, who is the Economic Development Director for the city of Terrell, and he hasn't committed 100%, but he's interested in helping us. We believe it's going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $80,000 to do these renovations, and we believe that there's a good possibility that they will help us pay for that. Also, talked to Keith Bell, who has a big electrical company, as most of you know, in Forney, and we're talking to him as well about helping us possibly with some of this. So there's not a commitment 100%, but I believe that there's going to be some assistance from the Terrell Economic Development Corporation to be able to help us, especially with the renovation. And there could be some help with some of the other things as well, but they want us to do this. They want us to do this on the Terrell campus. And so they're willing to make a contribution to that. I haven't got a commitment 100%. I think that's pretty well. We would like to start these two programs in the fall of 2023. The grant asked for us to start these programs in the fall of 2023. Although there's a possibility we could do it in the January of 2024, but we're looking for fall of 2023 as a start date. We've talked to David Graham and Tony, wherever they are in the audience back there. They've gone through and they've estimated the cost and looked at it, and we could do this without spending a lot of money, and we could do this without causing a major distraction for the rest of the facility. And the classes can be moved to an alternative location. So anybody, you guys have anything else to add to that?
I would say that one of the concerns that we have heard about putting in construction trades program into a primarily academic building, of course, is the sound issues. And so we've looked at by isolating them there in those three areas. Really the only classroom that will be affected, there's one classroom, and then there's a wall of the library. So we've looked at being able to kind of flip what the library looks like to move them away from sharing that wall. And then Rodney Garrett, who's the maintenance person over on the Terrell campus, he's gone through, him and Tony and David, and looked at being able to spray foam into the ceiling, and then also purchasing some sound barrier boards to put up to help with that type of a distraction.
I'll also say there's an entrance from the back, and that makes it even more convenient because they don't have to go through the building to get to these two classrooms. They can come in around the back. There's a sidewalk all the way around the back of the LRC between the lake and the LRC, and they could go in on that entrance, which makes it even more convenient. And one of the things that we've added to that is a sidewalk to the back parking lot. I guess that would be the west parking lot, so that they can also park in the west parking lot, which is not used as much anymore, and come in the back way on the sidewalk, so that they come in the back way. It would not be any interruption to anything else going on in the facility. So again, this is a start. As I mentioned to you, we need to do more in Kaufman County with workforce programs, but this is the way to start. I would say this would be a good phase one. And if this goes over well, which I believe that it will, then we can move on to phase two. And at some point in time, I'm going to come back to you probably in January or February and give you some other options on buildings and some other things that you can at least think about. So anybody have any questions? Thank you to Kelly for the $300,000 grant.
The one thing I just want to think about again, I want to make sure on the noise.
Yeah.
That it's not somebody like me's opinion that it's going to be okay, that we can insulate it appropriately. I'm not so sure we don't need a little bit of expertise.
Okay.
And I'm just asking that, thinking through this, it's gonna be a shame to put it in there and it be too loud and it be a problem and create a problem. So I think we need to
Okay,
kind of get a little data around that, with
Okay.
engineering around that. and
Okay.
not- It's just, yeah, we can throw up a little soundboard and a little phone. I'd like to see somebody's done it.
oh,
That's what I'm
okay,
asking,
we can do that, we definitely can,
because there's no need to create a.
no. That was the very thing that we've thought about as well. I mean, we didn't want to put it, but you're exactly right, we'd be happy
It's
to,
kind of like me going to build a building and not having any plans. I wouldn't have any. I'd just go start throwing stuff up and I know we've had people much stronger than me look at it, but I want to make sure we get the right professional help if we're going to put noise in that building.
good point, excellent point.
Because I've had to work in my medical building when they're mowing the yard, the parking lot, and I can't do it. So, I mean, it's, people don't think about it. It's a problem.
We will absolutely have someone come in, and I don't know if Rodney, I know he's talked to some people already. I don't know exactly how far he's gone with that, but we will ensure that we'll do everything that possibly can be done to make sure that there's not a noise issue.
And we've talked with the faculty that are gonna be in the same hall, and the ones that are the most concerned, we're moving those to the E-building to where it won't be as much of a distraction, but yes, Rodney, he's already been reaching out and talking with it first to come in together.
I guess the other issue is there any vibratory floor movement with what they're gonna be doing there and affecting technology? And just things we need to think about. This building wasn't built for that. So,
Yeah, we're gonna have to change the wiring for the electrical to put in, 220 volt, probably. But then we're also going to need, some new boards for the technology. The carpet in the rooms are gonna have to be removed so that we have a concrete floor for those stations that they'll be utilizing.
And the plumbing will be put in the location where there's already underground, there's water accessibility already there, but we certainly don't want to do anything to harm the, facility. So we'll make sure,
thank you.
we'll get more people involved.
All right.
Just comment, observation, and I know these things have to be addressed, that's certainly not, know you guys are sensitive to that as well, but I just wanted to, on the positive side, comment that it's impressive that you're looking critically at what we already have, and how can we make better use of it, given the changes and the way things are done and how we deliver what we deliver. So I really compliment everyone that was involved in that, and then also taking a hard look at the financial impact. And then Dr. King and others, reaching out for somebody else to add some money in. And all that being said, I mean, even Representative Bell might help us as much as he helped us in Florida a few years ago.
You never know.
We can only hope.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I hear a motion, we approve the electrician and plumbing programs for the Terrell campus. Mike makes that motion. Ron Day seconds the motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right, we'll move to item number 8 and consider and discuss electrical lineman instructor for the Palestine and Terrell campuses.
Again, your board approved this electrical lineman program back last year, and we actually began the program in September. We got a late start, but we began it in September. But we initially put in the budget 2 part-time instructors, one for the Terrell campus and one for the Palestine campus. Well, we couldn't find 2 part-time instructors, so we hired a part-time instructor that worked full-time in Terrell and in Palestine. Well, he decided it was too much, and so he's not going to work for us starting in the spring semester. So we would like to be able to hire a full-time person to be able to do that. It's about a $10,000 budget difference between a full-time person and 2 part-time people. But as you know, anytime we hire a full-time employ somebody full-time, we need to go before the board and get that approved. So we're asking for approval, which is about an $8,000 to $10,000 budget impact. But overall, getting one person to do both programs is going to be much better for everybody and everything. And by the way, the program in Palestine is full. It's got 19 or 20 students in it. 19, 20 something in that ballpark. And the program in Terrell is not. It's got 9 or 10, something like that. But we got a late start and we anticipate those programs both to be full, hopefully maybe in the spring or at least next year when we get started back over with it.
Well, and because this was a grant funded program, we really do need to finish it for the students that are currently in the program. And we do believe Dr. Johnson has reached out to several contacts, and we think between him and Karen Shipman contacts in Palestine that we have a couple of people that are interested in full time. We also have some of our area ISDs that are interested in having a dual credit cohort of the line worker program. So we will definitely keep the person busy. But I mean, it's basically like right now we pay the gentleman that's working for us. He basically works 19 hours a week, where if we hire a full-time person, we'll be able to have them for 37 and a half hours a week for roughly 10,000 more.
Okay, so we would ask for approval to hire that person.
Okay, did I hear, you make that motion, David?
Just a question regarding, your full at Palestine, you only have 7 in Carroll. What do you think that is?
I think a lot of it, the Palestine High School had a lot of interest and they pushed it with a lot of their students in that area. But when we started the program, we started the rollout of the program, we didn't have an instructor. So we had to list everything as to be determined. And at one point, we did have more students in Carroll that were interested, but because we couldn't tell them what days of the week or the time or anything, they pulled back on it, but they're still sitting there on that waiting list. And when we start the next cohort, we believe that they'll come back.
So you have my confidence that we have the right dynamics in place that, and certainly it should, you know, fail in an area like that, you know, compared to Palestine, just the demographics are so cheap. Okay, thank you.
All right, did I hear a motion? So, somebody making a motion?
I made
Dr. Charlie makes a motion. David seconds the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, item number 9, consider and approve and discuss approval of the levy amounts.
For this is our, every year we have to approve the levy amounts, and this, as of October 1st, this is what the various counties have on their tax rolls as the final, and so we would just ask for your approval. This is, again, something we have to do every year. It's required by state.
All right. Gary Stone makes a motion to approve this. Steve seconds the motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 10. Consider and discuss custodial service contract proposals.
Board, David Graham, Tony Buford, and Lawana have been working on this for about 3 months, maybe longer than that. But we wanted to go back out again and see what test the market, see what the market was for custodial service. And hopefully you've had an opportunity to read the proposals that were submitted. The proposal that we are recommending approval is Direct Solutions. Direct Solutions received the highest evaluator ranking, the highest total score, and the lowest total cost of all the proposals that we were able to receive, which there were 9 of them, of $767,280. That is less than what we're currently paying. We're currently paying $787,850. We have gone through the process of discussing, having a personal discussion with the owners of this company. We're very pleased at what we're hearing from them. I have contacted, and others have been contacted. I contacted the president of Angelina College, who can be very critical at times. I've worked with him on different things over the years. he had glowing recommendation for this company. And they had been working for Angelina College for the last 4 or 5 years. And so we also looked up other references and talked to other people, talked to them in person. We also looked at the possibility of doing this ourselves. That was one of the things I've been thinking about for the last 7 years almost, is the possibility of doing this internally. And if you look at the second sheet, if we were to try to do it internally, it would cost us $1 million, $1,020,942. And so we're saving about $150,000 by contracting it out, as opposed to doing it internally. I think that's what Dr. Forgy told y'all about 10 years ago when we decided to go and do a contract, and that's still the same today in terms of the market. We're ready to go. Lee Porter has been involved in looking at contracts here. We haven't, obviously, until after tonight. If you decide to approve this, we'll go forward with letting her look at the contract again and being able to approve that. But we're looking at the possibility of beginning this February 1st or before. We're required to give Macklemore, who's our current provider, a 30-day notice. And so we'd like to give them a 30-day notice as soon as we get the contract approved and signed by Direct Solutions. Give them a 30-day notice and probably start with a new company on February the 1st.
They're gonna give us a scholarship, $2,500.
They're gonna give us a scholarship, $2,500 scholarship. I think they're from Livingston. I didn't know where Livingston was. I had to look it up. It's over by Angelina College, over by Lufkin, and that's where they're located. And they're very much involved with the schools that they participate with. I'm very happy. Very pleased with them as a potential provider. And I'll just say I'm very pleased with them as the company that would be working for TDCC. David Graham is here. He's looked over the contract. LaWanna's looked over the contract. There were a couple of questions that were asked to me before the meeting about various parts of the contract with them. You want to go ahead and ask questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
David, my concern was, do we have a contingency if they do not fully staff these properties that were discounted or refunded back some form of money? I mean, many times we've been on other campuses, and I've been in Palestine and HSC both, when employees were cleaning up the building and there was no representation from Macklemore at all. Yet we weren't discounted for them not being there. And under this new contract, is there a plan in place that if they're not fully staffing a building, that we're not paying them the full rate?
I can speak to that in 2 or 3 different ways. First way is under this RFP that we put out, we did it differently than any others that I've participated in here, in that we specified the amount of labor that's required by each campus. We told them you're going to supply 14 people here, 2 in Terrell Health Science, 2 in Terrell, the main campus there at I-20, 2 or 3 in Palestine, and then 1 in Kaufman. We've never specified the specific number of laborers. In addition to that, the second way we are trying to overcome that problem is that we, as a part of the RFP, we ask them, if you're short labor, how much money are you willing to deduct from your monthly bill for a labor shortage? And the direct solution is $12 an hour. We would deduct from their bill for the number of hours that they're short labor. It may not be a lot, but it could be a lot. And we're going to have to work with Lee to figure out the mechanism that we and all agree to fund that, to collect that $12 an hour, so that we will have to give reporting. My thought process has been that as a part of the monthly bill that they send us, I want to try to make them supply us with a number of labor people listing the names and that they have on that campus so we can verify. So there's just some things that we'll negotiate as a part of the final contract and how that's done. But we did account for that as a part of this contract, and every vendor that was on that list gave us a certain dollar amount that they would be willing to, because that was a part of the requirement.
Well, that opens up a complete new scenario. And now who's going to manage those processes on each campus?
That's part of the issue that we'll deal with, but Jerry and the staff will just have to work through specifically how we manage that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you tonight that I have all the answers, but we'll come up with a solution to where we do it, because the provost on each campus, they know what their labor is there. I've got a mechanic that knows, if their labor people are there. Mechanisms are there in place for us to be able to manage it. It's just we gotta get it translated down to the monthly bill so that we do the deduct possibility for it, and get with Lee as we negotiate the contract so that there's some meat in there.
Do you see any potential problems in the future, though, regarding that, where you've got direct solutions saying, we weren't on your campus 20 hours, but the provost is saying they weren't on their campus 30 hours. So how are you going to mediate that?
We just, doing inspections for one. We look and make sure that the campus is clean. And then we just have to work with the people that are there on the campus to mediate it and come up with a solution.
Thank you.
Dr. King, I'd just like to express, and I appreciate what Trustee Henry said. I can see where that it could be pretty hard, because when you're claiming they weren't there, and they said, well, we weren't there in the afternoon, we're there, right after 12 a.m. and for 6 more hours. That may create some wrinkles. I mean, it's I know you're acting in really good faith to try to find a way to tighten things up. But a couple of things, I think I might lean more toward that you have a fairly thin line. And beyond that line, it constitutes default and causes the contract to be subject to cancellation promptly. Some sort of cure arrangement. In other words, I would probably see more benefit in saying, okay, that's once, and here's your warning notice. If it happens again, it comes up for review for cancellation of your contract for default. And I'm thinking you might, rather than trying to be the monitor in the hall, you might just, take an approach of, we're just going to make it painful enough that you don't want to let that happen. Okay. And default is really your answer to that. That said, otherwise about the contract, you guys know what it all, shakes out to be and who you like versus, and you also know why you're even entertaining a change. I respect that, but I really have strong opposition to a 5-year contract. And especially, and in all cases, a 5-year contract where the price is fixed for only 2. What are you getting for the other 3? If they want a 5-year contract, put something on the table that equates to a thing of monetary value. And they've already said, we reserve the right to reprice it after 2, which means they will. So why would we want to be bound? I think at that point we say, and I'm okay with 2 years. I know they want some sort of mechanism in place, although it looks like we're buying quite a bit of equipment that we use.
I believe that's in the proposal as well. Is that right?
No.
Don, they furnish all that stuff on the list. My mistake.
What I think we
thought
were-
the list at the bottom was what
I think we were
did.
trying to put something together like we have with Airmark.
Anyway.
That is,
just
there's a-
back to that.
Yeah,
That's my main.
Okay.
concern, is
Okay.
That's hard. You see an issue with just saying, do a good job, Candy, too. You know, we're gonna be the folks that want you to continue more than you want to continue. But if you don't, we're not gonna be bound to some additional 3 years that we don't want to be bound to. And then I kind of get into that thing. You know, somebody won't be on this board in less than that period of time. They beat me. I kind of hate to, sometimes we have to, but I kind of hate to tag it on the other guy to be stuck with, you know, calls that I made for longer periods. I think we should avoid it when we can.
okay. I'm thinking, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm
No, go
sorry.
ahead.
I do have another question though, and I just noticed this on their proposal page that extracurricular activities can be charged at $20 per hour. Is that correct? Then why would they only deduct $12 an hour on us? If they're gonna charge us $20 an hour back, shouldn't that be a tit for tat?
I think.
I think the $12 is probably their average annual, average salary. It's $12.
I don't see how.
Well, I don't know what their
Not
average
today.
salary, I can tell you what Macklemore's salary, and it's $12 an hour. But, yeah, and that's why we've had problems last year.
What we got.
So, I mean, again, we can work out what details, whatever but those are very good, valid concerns, there's no question about it. How do you want us to handle this? Do you want us to wait until January and come back again and work out some of these details? Or do you want us to,
Just my feeling, I'm
Okay,
okay. With you, you know, if the board agrees to that. To just be clear
Okay.
that those provisions are incorporated in it.
Okay.
I mean, in reality, we're not really looking at a truly ready for the road proposal here. We still have these things that have to be worked out, some of the details that David's mentioned and some of the things we've discussed. I mean, I'm okay. I trust your judgment to follow that path and, you know,
Okay.
make it happen. I want.
I think what we had in mind was an agreement like we have with Airmark. And that is after 2 years, there would be a review. And I think Airmark can only go up so higher a percentage after. Yeah, what we thought we would do is talk to them and negotiate what we would do after 2 years.
If they gave a price for 2 years, I think it would just say in 2 years, we'll renegotiate.
Yeah.
And if we're happy, you know, we're gonna be very proactive in doing that, and they're gonna know it. If you're not, then, you know, why have any wrinkle that might leave it open for doubt? Contract expired, and you're gone.
Would you rather it just be a 2-year contract?
If the rate's only fixed for 2 years,
It's fixed for 2 years.
I mean, if you're gonna, you don't want to sign a 5-year contract with open end.
We weren't gonna do that. We were gonna have, like we do with Airmark, we were gonna have a certain percentage that they could go up, and that would be it. That's what we were talking about.
That's not what you said.
No, but this is open for negotiation.
Avoid pulling that percentage.
Okay.
Because, you know, who knows, what if that percentage is too high for 2 years? Well, not gonna be the way things are going. But what if it is? What if things are just so flat or have backed up? You're saying, I can't believe I built in no more than 80%. Because one thing's certain, if they were inclined otherwise, you toss that out there, definitely at least go to that amount and probably push for more. And I would just, stipulate that if at the end of 2 years, the contract is renegotiated, if not found satisfactory to either party, then it becomes null and void.
Okay.
They can call that 5-year contract, as long as there's, we gotta be happy with the performance and the price.
There's a termination clause within the contract that we can
Yeah, I
terminate.
haven't seen that.
Yeah, but it's just, it's a 30-day, we give them 30 days notice
For any reason.
for any reason whatsoever.
Well, that's not
And they do
bad.
the same back to us. Termination clause, if we can give them a 30-day, do they have the ability to do that back to us?
120 days. 120 days is what they
Okay.
give us.
Then that's not a 2-year contract. Much less 5. 30 days, we can't bring it to us.
That's what we've got
That's
right
good.
now. We've
That's
always
good as
had
it
that.
gets.
Yes, we've always had that with Macklin. So that last sentence there where it says direct solutions reserves the right to renegotiate the price after the first 2 years based on federal minimum wage increases and or employee retention over the past 2 years and every year going forward. That's what we need to not have in there.
Just be sure that 30-day cancellation. For
It-
for any reason. Or not.
Okay. All right.
So, it does.
Why we put it in there. That's in every contract that I've produced in the field of facilities. You always, as an owner, you have a 30-day out. Most of all, every time you get it, that's what you get.
Get it.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna be asking for a motion to approve the custodial service contract. Okay, Mike makes that motion. Dr. Terry seconds that motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 11, consider and discuss installing a fire sprinkler protection system at West Elm.
We only received one bid from this and we would prefer, our recommendation is to reject that bid. We're not sure it's competitive. We feel like we need more bids. And so our recommendation is to reject this bid and start the process over again, possibly in January, February timeframe, and be able to come back and revisit it and hopefully more bids. And hopefully we could get that done in the summer, over the summertime.
All right, so there's no action.
Well, I actually would reject the bid. We need to, motion to reject. the bid.
Okay, motion to reject the bid. Jerry Stone makes that motion.
I'll second.
Who did?
Dr. Rice.
Dr. Ross Sager made the motion. Jerry Stone second motion.
That's fine.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right, we're down to consider and discuss personnel updates.
And board, this is, again, we got the resignations, retirement, new hires, and reclassifications. I'll answer any questions. If not, we'd entertain a motion to approve.
Ron Day makes that motion. David second motion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right, we need to move into convene into an executive session under the code section 551.072 of the Texas Open Meeting Act for the following purposes: real property and real property.
Need a motion to second.
That's so move.
Okay, you moved it. We'll go into Steve seconds that motion. Any further discussion?
Okay.
If not, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign, motion carries. All right, folks, we'll be right back.